breaking news that's coming in. Our focus is on Iran at this hour. The Islamist regime is collapsing in Iran is what we are given to understand with this situation and the visuals coming in from there. Iran is facing an intense anti-regime protest as a crushing economic crisis has gripped the country. Demonstrations have erupted at the Tehran Grand Bazaar, a historic nerve center of revolutions, sparking comparisons with 1979. The Iranian Rial has in fact plunged to nearly 1.45 million per dollar. Inflation is hovering around 40%. Food prices are soaring. With traders joining the street protests and at least 36 people having been killed already, the economic collapse is emerging as the biggest threat yet to the Islamic regime there. While slogans calling on Donald Trump highlight growing external expectations of pressure on Tehran at the same time. This remains to be the reality of the situation on the ground in Tehran as we speak. An economic crisis that has escalated so much that the people are now on the streets of Tehran, at Tehran Grand Bazaar, if we are to be more specific, protesting against the very inflation and the economic crisis, one of the biggest crises that we're looking at since 1979 that's gripped Iran. Let's quickly take a look at the bites coming in.
خیلی ضعیف شده بازار ما پارسال این موقع خیلی اصلا مغازمون خیلی شلوغ‌تر از این بود. امسال واقعا اصلا یه ساعتی یه مشتری نمیاد مغازه. اوضاع اصلا خیلی از الان بگم یعنی خوب نیستش واقعیتش.
So far, activists say that at least 35 people have been killed and 1,200 others have been arrested by security forces. Iran's government really hasn't provided an overall casualty or arrest figure yet, but they did acknowledge that there was an incident in western Iran in which security forces raided a hospital looking for demonstrators. This all stems back to Iran's ailing economy. The Iranian Rial, its national currency, is trading at 1.4 million to $1 It hit a record low on Tuesday, and it looks like it's going to continue to fall under the pressure of international sanctions, mismanagement, and other economic issues.
Geeta Mohan joining me on the broadcast with more details on this. Geeta, a very good morning to you. Today, what we are seeing in Iran at this given point of time is rather concerning. The situation reminds us of 1978 and 1979, the period when the Iranian Revolution had taken place. Are we looking at a pattern that resembles the same given the economic crisis in the country?
That's true, but the only difference over here is that the United States of America and the immense sanctions on Iran are the main reason why we're looking at an economic collapse of Iran. The inflation actually is hitting 40% and more, which has made life really difficult for the people of Iran. But these are steps that you've seen the West take very slowly and very incrementally in Iran for a very, very long period of time. It's a country that is known to be one of the most sanctioned countries, the two countries, Russia and Iran, the most sanctioned countries, including North Korea actually. And therefore, life was difficult, but post the Israel-Gaza war, it has become more difficult because of the position that Iran has taken supporting the people of Palestine, and therefore there is an unrest now that's brewing within Iran due to inflation, due to what they see as the life that has become very difficult for them. And yes, there's unrest and protests against rising inflation in many parts of Iran, and which really threatens the regime in Iran. The government is looking at and staring at a situation that could go out of control anytime.
So at this given point of time, would you say the protests that are gripping the streets of Iran might actually lead to a regime change? Is it that severe?
It's severe enough for the regime to look at a clampdown, but then the strong message from Donald Trump, the President of the United States of America, where in a post he said, if any protester gets killed, then that, and I'm paraphrasing him, then they will have to pay for it, which means that it was a direct threat that U.S. will go in and attack Iran. So yes, they are staring at the options, the limited options that they have whether to look at a clampdown or not. Because should they do that, then there will be wrath from Washington, D.C. And should they not, then there's going to be internal turmoil where their own position will become untenable.
So, Geeta, it's a catch-22 situation that Iran is gripped in at this given point of time. But let's also speak of the economic crisis that the country has been enduring for the last couple of years, and especially sanctions also coming in and adding to the woes of this economic crisis from countries like the US itself has not helped the situation in the recent times.
Well, absolutely. A country that has stood against the position of America and stood as a major power in that part of the world, the Persian Gulf and the region, is under threat. Certainly, they have their own internal problems, and we can talk about that in terms of freedom and rights for women, so on and so forth. But we do know that a lot of it now is being used to ensure that there is trouble within, unrest within, and the protests, particularly right now, are to do with inflation that, like you rightly pointed out, have only exacerbated because of the immense sanctions against Iran. Are they going to go into talks? Are they going to sustain themselves? Remember, it's not just West. Amidst all the sanctions, they've had friends in Russia and China. How is the reaction going to be if Iran falls, which is a pillar and a very important country in the region for Russia and China? So given the geopolitics, we will have to wait and see what China really does in this scenario, in the situation that Iran is in right now.
You know that when we speak of world politics at this given point of time, there are several shake-ups taking place everywhere at this point of time, if we are to speak of. Iran's situation at this point, let's also take a look at it from the geopolitical perspective. How does it affect the rest of the world? Like you're saying, Russia, China, how do they react? That comes into context as well. What are their steps, given that there's already a situation in Venezuela that's taking place? How do we see the world reacting to this very situation in Iran?
Well, the world is looking at it, including India, actually, because for India, Iran is a very important partner, has been. The Chabahar port that India is heavily invested in is going to be a huge loss should there be any change, so to speak, in terms of how Iran is right now. So a very important country, keeping in mind Afghanistan and Pakistan. For India, Chabahar port through Iran is a way to connect with Afghanistan and the whole of Central Asia, circumventing Pakistan. So the Iran's question for many countries is a very important one, where they're looking at stability in Iran, continuity in Iran, so that the strategic calculations do not really fall apart for countries like India. So yes, for India it's a very important one. For West Asia, that they have a sectarian problem between Iran and the Arab world, the Sunni Shia faction. The fact that Iran, a Shia country, stood by Palestine more than the Arab world has come under question too. Iran has been a constant threat for Israel. America will do whatever it takes to secure Israel and ensure security for Israel. And Iran over there does not add up. The meeting last week at Mar-a-Lago between Prime Minister Netanyahu and President Trump very clearly spells out that for Netanyahu, the next big thing would be taking down of Iran. And in the interview, the exclusive conversation that India Today had with Jeffrey Sachs, he very clearly spells out that while there are issues with Colombia, Cuba, and those could be very clearly under or in Trump's radar, but the next big action will be in Iran. So everybody is monitoring the situation and looking at what DC is going to do when it comes to Iran.